Hola everyone, I'm Veronica Ortolini again, Codebreaker Real Talk with Unchained Hearts and Unchaining Hearts. And here we have once more my co-host and dear friend and brother, Chad Cooper. Hola, Chad.
Hi everyone, thank you for having me, Veronica.
You're welcome. We just got done with Tom Althouse, second part.
Yay.
Go look at that video. And so Chad, we're talking last night and I think it's, we're going to talk about a few things. And so tell me about we discovered something in our chat the other day where you worked with these, we'll say elites, and what were your experiences? If you want to go deep, then let's go deep. And if not, then we won't. It's up to you. Thank you, Chad.
Yeah, I think I just like dodged the bullet, or I don't know, skimmed. I was in the belly of the beast, but I just kind of skimmed by somehow, undetected. And in lieu of things, because now you always know there's something a little off in that industry. I was always very intuitive, and I talked about it in the last video. You know, I had this sense in Hollywood and driving through their neighborhood where Mulholland Drive, whatever, you know, all that area where they all lived. I had a really, really creepy feeling. I never was able to shake driving through their habitat. And I would never cross the street to see a celebrity. You know, I was in New York for quite a while, 10 years, and I worked in high-end restaurants, so I would see them a lot. But at the most, I would just kind of look over and I'd say, okay, I saw them. You know, and that was the peak of my interest there. But I would never cross as a matter of fact, if I saw lights on the street that I was walking on and filming, I'd walk over to the other side and then keep going because I didn't care. And there's a reason for that, you know. And even dealing with these people at the table, because I worked for some of the top chefs, I mentioned that, and I won't say where, but it was a restaurant that was owned by Joe Bastianich, and there's Mario Batali and David Pasternak, and there's Todd English, and then and then I worked in some other nice restaurants there too. So I would see the likes of like Drew Barrymore, you know, those type of people coming in, and Cyndi Lauper, whoever. They would pass through. I didn't get to see the likes of like Angelina Jolie and stuff. You know, they fly a little too high from where I was. I was the lower end of their restaurants, but you know, still high end for what the work is. And it was always interesting dealing with these people, and not just the celebrities, but also the elite, because they have to be handled in a certain way. I was very good at that. And until I wasn't, you know, I had my dyslexic moments, and they're very unforgiving. You know, they want everything done correctly, and you know, hit on the chopping block if it's not, sort of thing. And I worked in types of places where there's a lot of high pressure and stuff. And I had people walk up to me and say, you know, Chad, we question the way you think and stuff. And that's because of my Dexter programming that I've talked about before, you know, and I've worked through a lot of that. But back then it was pretty strong, and I got it a lot. But the other reason they couldn't figure out the way I think is because I did things differently than them. I gave service to people, and I gave hospitality to people. I always pulled the restaurant back with my wingspan. I don't know why I say wings, but you know, you always imagine wings like you're just pulling them back, and then you're kind of rushing your table along a little bit, but you're making sure they're also not being rushed, you know. And that was my style. And my sales were always up there with everybody else's because people had time to buy and, you know, and enjoy their time and stuff. I didn't rush them. So, but people were trying to figure out my style, you know, and it was just like, I'm not trying to take advantage of people. I'm trying to give people what they want and hold the restaurant back, but also give the restaurant what it needs. You know, and there's a balance there that you have to learn throughout the years. My style was different. I always tried to figure out the other waiters, what their thing was. The main difference that I noticed was in a few places, like when it came to the management, they would mostly hire like trust fund babies, you know, the heir to Kellogg's, or some other lady that had like this apartment, and it was I mean,
What are,
an
sorry, what
apartment.
are trust fund babies? If you don't mind explaining, what is that?
Like, well, a trust fund baby, I think is somebody that comes from a family. It's just the way old money, like the money just gets from the father, and so they're just born into money, and when the family passes, they inherit it. And so, you know, they're in the line that those were the type of people they would hire to be the supervisors and stuff. And so, and then watching even just the behavior of the chef and the lady, I'm like, wow, they fit the profile now. Looking back, I can see it. I can see it. The type of food they cooked and everything, you know, it gives you the sense that behind the scenes there might have been some spirit cooking. So I can't say that there was, but at the same time, I'm working in those industries where it is, and or was, and you know, it wasn't just the restaurants. I also did catering, so I got to go into their homes. I got to go to their events. I got to go on those ranches. I got to go on, you know, the places that are out in the middle of nowhere. There's this big, beautiful lodge, and you know, recreational things for casual purposes, and who knows what else, you know, goes on there. But I was up in that neck of the woods, and it was as far left as you can imagine. You know, there was known for being blew up in Park City, and some of the mansions that I went into, I had to question, like, where am I? You know, they're like, oh, you're in a home. I'm like, okay, because the 13-car garage and the elevator threw me off, right? And I've said this before, but like getting back to it, I was working the party downstairs, and it was the kids' party, and so all the kids were playing. There was a bowling alley. There was a movie theater. There were arcades, you know, like the air disc or whatever things. There was they had a bar that I was working, you know, serving hot chocolate, and had fire and ice flames behind me. It had the glass and had the flames coming up out of it. And I've worked, well, that house was, I think it was like a $13 million, I forget, it was ridiculous, but it was some surgeon, you know, major surgeon. And I think it was like a time, I think they just, you know, they go in there and they borrow the home or whatever. But then I'd go into like some of the richest families in the world in their homes, and they would escort us down all the time into their cellars. You know, we weren't allowed to be escorted, and then all their wine had to be checked out on their apps and everything. You know, we went through those. We weren't allowed to wear our shoes in the house. We had to go barefoot or I brought my own slippers, my gentleman slippers or whatever, or house shoes. I didn't wear outside. And they would go through our stuff before we left, you know, and that was an issue for a lot of people. But looking back on it, I'm like, wow, no wonder why, you know, we were just kept in certain areas of their home. And these homes are huge. People have no idea. And there's rooms, and from what I understand, there's tunnels and underground connecting a lot of this. So I didn't get to experience that. That's not the extent. Like I said, I went through the belly of the beast, and they didn't detect me, and I, oddly enough, didn't detect them, because I don't believe I was supposed to. If I would have. Oh, you know what?
Yeah.
And it reminds me, because I was telling you about this other home I went to, and it was 8 stories high, and it was just being built mostly out of logs. And there was the owners of medical equipment in hospitals, and the floors were incomplete. There was raw wood everywhere, and we were doing the party on the top floor, so we had to walk all the way up. And one of the floors we passed, like on the 2nd floor, maybe 3rd floor, something like that, it was just like rooms full of bunk beds, big log bunk beds, like three high, I think, or something. Maybe not 3 high, that seems, they were just huge, I think is what it was. They were double, but they were made out of logs, so they look like Lincoln logs, and they're big. But there was a lot of them, and I thought, wow, man, what do you need all these bunk beds for, all these kids? You know, that's interesting. And then just the way the party went, it was like you were serving Twilight, you know, the cast of Twilight. Everybody was just dressed, and all the young kids were much older than they should have been, and drinking, you know, it was just weird. And it brought back a memory too, you know. I'm bringing this on, and because you just kind of think back on your life after you realize, holy shit, this is what's going on behind the scenes. You know, and this one Pepsi, let's say, or Coke, you know, whatever family that I went to work Christmas Day for, The rudest freaking family you could ever imagine. You know, you go to offer them something and they say, no, I'm done. I don't want any. And you're like, damn it, it's Christmas. And I'm offering you something to eat. You know, decline it gracefully. They didn't care. They were wicked. And the little baby that's in diapers, I mean, walking, but coming down the stairs, that toddler stage, told me to get the F out of its way. And the kids in the hallway were playing with their drones and not moving out of us. We had to step over them and around them to carry all the stuff back and forth. I mean, it was just like these homes are, it was just weird thinking that I'd been through these homes and bumping elbows with these people, not really bumping elbows, that's something different, but brushing elbows, you know, brushing shoulders with these people. It just kind of messes with your mind a little bit. I look good on paper, but there's nothing I'm going to do in that industry again. I don't think. I can't even go into hospitality because it's in the hotels. I'm going to see the human trafficking and I'll say something.
Thank you, Chad. You know, when you were saying about the bunk beds and the medical beds, I real quick got a feeling of quote unquote St. Jude. And a lot of these,
I don't know who it was, but I sense, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Wasn't there a doctor there that was arrested and asked how many children did he rape? And he looked out the window and said, how many snowflakes are there?
yes, I don't remember the name, but yes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, you know, these agencies, Child Protective Services, we've talked about it before. Some people will work for these elites in conjunction with other governmental officials, like it could be crooked cops, it could be crooked politicians. So even a neighbor could be planted in a neighborhood to seek out these kids.
And in line with that too, I had a friend there, and I'm hoping she follows me, that we're connected in a way. I'm going to just say that they follow me in some ways, but we don't communicate. And let's say their house was the one on top of the hill, the mountain, the highest house on the mountain, through a gated community where some of the richest people in the world have lived, you know. And I forget the guy's name. He ran for president or something, that lived in Mitt Romney or something. He lived on the other side of the mountain, Deer Valley or something. So drove her home one night from an event we were working. It was a VIP event. I think that guy from Game of Thrones was there, barbarian guy. Yeah, he was on something. No, let me not name names. I didn't. Okay. And and so were a lot of people there. And I was working the VIP event there and stuff. But gave her a ride home. And this was a really nice person. I mean, this is somebody that was very spiritual. She was working the job because she was the black sheep of the family. They cut her off of the money. They wanted her to go to college. She didn't want to go to the college in South Carolina. And a private college where all the, you know, dry cleaning would be done and received at your door and everything. She didn't want to go. So they were going to cut her off. She was very interested in spirituality. She was very interested in the way I thought. I thought her significant other was interesting because they called it out that they thought they were psychopathic, you know, or not psychopathic, but sociopathic. Maybe, you know, I had some tendency there or something. I thought I was very interested because those people don't usually know it or whatever. So, but watching her now, she's now converted. So she's gone to the college. I see something different in the eyes. And I think she's still there, but I can't tell. And the reason I mention this is because in the last video, I brought up a t-shirt concept idea just as comedy, but 1 in 10 people eat people. And the reason I said that is because I hear 30 million of these people live in this country and there's 330 million people. So it's 11%, you know, or I think they're guessing. So 1 in 10 people eat people, but in reality, we've all eaten people. So we shouldn't be judging because they're feeding them back to us, allegedly. And if you're vegetarian, this doesn't exempt you because there's a meat that's fake and it's known for being a burger that's beyond, let's just say. And I'm curious what's in that. You know, it reminds me of soil and green, but who knows? It has a very interesting flavor. I've eaten it before. I liked it, but and I'm not going to eat them again, you know, in hindsight. But that's what I'm saying is let's not be too judgmental here. There's people that are doing it intentional, but I don't want the t-shirt to like represent like there's us and them, because this friend of mine, they're clearly being groomed, and I'm hoping one day they break away and find me because they know I'm a mind guy and can hopefully help. Can't guarantee it, but you know, we can do what we can do. But who's to say they're not participating in this? Because what I understand, 95% of these people want out. So there's an interesting show on TV that you were trying to get me to watch, speaking of Drew Barrymore. And I saw it and I was like, oh gosh, can I watch this after watching Drew Barrymore do her stupid little dance and asking people to get jabbed over her Masonic floor, you know, like, but it does look cute. I don't know, I might try it. They're messing with you, aren't they?
Let me get my notes. I thought I had them here, but go
Oh,
ahead and talk. I'll be right back. Sorry.
yeah.
I was gonna pause it, but I don't know. Anyway, the notes are just right there, so I'll be right back. Sorry.
All right.
Yeah, it's a Netflix series called Santa Clarita Diet. Excuse me, and I found it very interesting in season 1, episode 9. So one day, Drew Barrymore's character feels sick. She is a realtor with her husband showing a house. And she just throws up all over the place. And she throws up like this little round ball, like a red ball. And ever since then, she's had this thing where she wanted to eat raw meat. Regular food didn't taste good anymore. So if you look at this series later on, the husband, because he loves her so much, he agrees to hunt perpetrators, pedophiles, whatever, to get her to eat the human, because she is now needing human flesh to eat. And remind me to talk about Saturn and rising Jupiter on that note in a little bit. So this whole thing, she's now later on starting to get, she calls it very feral. And there is a boy there that is befriending their daughter, and he does this, it shows an interview of Dr. Wood. She experimented on such things as where people were eating people and things like that. And they were trying to find a cure for these people that ate people so that they would not turn on their family members. So somehow she ends up at their house, and they have to find a pure bread, we'll say, let me read this word by word. They have to get the bile of a native born pure Serbian. Why? Because in their intestines, their intestinal fluid holds the flora that resisted this V word, virus. Then later on, she talks about, okay, well, this substance, this thing, this flora from the digestive system has to be mixed or combined with myrrh. And I find that very interesting, myrrh. I have frankincense and myrrh mixed together. And when I put it on me, people will stay away from me. It's a very protective thing. So now I looked up, obviously I already knew that it had to do with my bloodline because I'll just show you what I looked up and found. What are the what is the Serbian race, right? And it says pretty much Serbs are a Balkan people of mixed Serb, Slav, Aryan, right? That's where the Aryan, the Aryan Anunnaki come in. Lyrian, which is also us. Vlach or Wallach, and possibly, my phone's broken, possibly Dacian and Thracian ancestry. The Dacian Serbs origin from the cultures of Lepenski, Vir, Starcevo, and Vinka Raska. Hopefully I did the right accent. But in 2019, study of Serb samples from different parts of Western Balkans showed that approximately half of them originated from Herzegovina and Old Herzegovina, which populated through history strongly through today's Serbian male genetics. So, and it also has to do with the O negative blood type because, like I said before, we own both X and Y chromosomes. They are after our genetics. We have been able to absorb different things throughout our lives, reincarnations, where if there's something going around, maybe you get sick for one day and then you're done because your body incorporates, you know, and throughout the generations and throughout the years, it's your system, digestive system, flora becomes immune to these things that are trying to hijack your body, our body. I find it very interesting when you mentioned the burger thing. What's it called? The more burger?
I didn't hear you because it broke up.
The more burger, or what was it?
Oh no, the burger that's beyond.
Okay, Beyond Burger. All right, so I'm now linking this Beyond Burger thing. Must, huh?
You got it.
It must contain this flora and adrenochrome for the beings that are not O negative or carry the negative rhesus that had to have the baby Jabberwocky for them to live on. Now, going real quick to Jupiter Ascending, that movie. Where are my notes for that? I find it interesting where in the you know, the beginning, she's tricked by her cousin, hey, you know, sell your ovaries, there's money in that. And then those nurses and doctors, when she's being given the gas, they turn into grays and they have the black eyes and stuff like that. So then sexy Channing Tatum comes and saves her, right? And he is half wolf and half human. And he got in trouble for biting an enemy, right? And so his friend had to kind of like help him out with that one. You can watch the movie. But I find it very interesting. The guy said the first thing that the canine, right, Lyrian werewolf will do is automatically go and bite. Okay, have you noticed like when there's a full moon, you're like, what's going on? Why can't I sleep? Why do I want to go outside and walk? You know, or ride my bike in the middle of the night, 3 in the morning, whatever. So going back to this movie, Jupiter Ascending, where she's already been rescued and things like that. and there's bees, there's like beehives everywhere and honeycomb. And she's outside and the bees come to her and she's all moving with them. She's like, what's going on? And one of the guy's characters tells her, have you ever been bitten or stung, sorry, by a bee? She's like, no. And he said to her, that's because they recognize royalty, bloodline. We always say, oh, it's because the animals, cats, dogs, they see our light. Why do people see us when we're driving in the street or when we walk into a room? Everybody's like, whoa, that's my light, girl. Guess what? It's because we're royalty, babies. All I got to say about that one. Going back to the movie. So in the scene where before they get
I gotta say though, because I am an A+, A positive, but I think there is royalty in my family somewhere way back.
there is. I see an O negative person.
It was a king something, but yeah, or yeah, way back then. So I have to look.
3 generations back.
I have to look into that. So you're right. Yeah, it's interesting. But I am an A positive, so.
But you're a shapeshifter, you've been told. So there has to be an O negative somewhere in your line. Because only O negative or negative.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, only negative rhesus, meaning A, B negative, B negative, O negative. The negative rhesus can shapeshift. Okay. So there has to be something in there. Maybe an A negative, maybe A, B negative, something negative. Rhesus. Okay.
So you're saying the bees, yeah, they don't sting her. And so these were grays, because I haven't seen the movie. I've been meaning to. I've been told to watch it. I will watch it.
The beginning of the movies, in the movie, she was like gonna sell her ovaries for money because she wanted to buy a telescope. And then, they have this whole thing where their cousin is like the ringleader, we'll say, of the cleaning homes and stuff like that. And they hardly get any money. They have to clean like 5 houses a day in order, you know what I mean? There's just like this whole thing. And she hated doing her job. So she's like, man, if I can only get ahead, kind of a thing. So the cousin's like, let's work out a deal where we can share a percentage. And I got this deal. I got this thing where you can go to the doctor office and sell your ovaries for money. And I get a cut, he says, because I gave you the information. You know how that rolls. So during the time they strapped her down, right? And they put an oxygen thing on her. And then they put this thing on her neck to see if she really was the one, right? Yeah, she's the one, the nurse says to the doctor. Then all of a sudden they flip her around. They said, kill her. So they started doing something to the oxygen machine and all the, wherever she was on the bed, on the gurney. And then that's when Channing Tatum comes and saves her butt. And find it interesting that later on, the brother of whoever I'm going to talk about next has this little chip behind his ear, and he goes, and then he turns it on, and he goes back with time travel to see the beginning of where she was with these nurses and doctors that turn into the grays, actually real gray beings, aliens, we'll say. And she's looking like that, and he says, oh, there you are. He's all thinking that that's his mother, because of the royalty bloodlines through the years and all this stuff. And then he turns it off and he can see. It's like another thing of looking glass, I guess you can say, technology. Real quick. So I have to say this because I feel it's important, where, after the whole bee thing and before they're after her, before they take her to Saturn, they're in the living room and this other actor is saying, do you know that during the Great Expansion, he says, over 1 million years ago, you all humans think that you were on Earth. He says the first seeding of humans, he says, he doesn't say seedings, but he says the first humans were in the cannabulous system called Ores, he says. Then when they decided to put humans on Earth, they had a problem. Houston, we got a problem. Why? Because they had Saurosapiens called Saurosargons eating humans, which are, she goes, oh, is that the dinosaurs? They were eating humans. O negative bloodlines. Why are we fed the meat? Why is it that when I was a kid, they would give me morsa, which is a cooked blood to eat?
Yeah.
Because they didn't want our DNA bloodline to eat humans. Now, another story that I just heard about 2 weeks ago, someone in my family said, oh, because I said, yeah, guess what? I have Dominican Republic bloodline from my great grandmother who married the Spaniard blonde hair, blue eye great grandfather, right? He says, what? And he's from Puerto Rico. And he turns around and tells me, you guys are cannibals. He says, did you know that the Dominican Republic ate out most of the Puerto Ricanos when they invaded their territory? I'm like, holy F. So,
We
watch
come
out
from
for
a
my
real
teacher.
Oh,
Sorry.
it's funny. It's not funny, but I mean, I've heard them talking about this in other videos. Like when you look into our past, we basically come from a really, I don't know. It's like the grime fairy tales. You know, the things they talk about eating kids, and then the different photographs I've seen, or not photographs, but paintings back in the day of the royalty, where it shows like the peasant giving the kid the apple or the treat, you know, and then and then in the photograph or the mural or whatever it is, it's telling a story, because then the next scene is painted right above and it shows them bringing him in the castle. Then it shows the dogs eating all the body parts of the kids, and the people drinking red wine, you know, and you're just like, they've been doing this since forever. And then you're hearing about like the real story of the Dominicans and the Republicans. You can't laugh.
One word, Chad, Dominican Republic, not the Dominican's Republic, okay?
What am I saying?
Dominicans and the Republicans, there's republics. It's Dominican Republic. República Dominicana, güey. Para que más entienda. Just kidding. I know, I have a hard time with words too. I'm just being silly here. You know why I'm being silly?
You know, the other thing too is the whole Native American thing too is something else that I would like to discuss with somebody eventually, because we were lied to. There was teepees and temples, and I keep saying that, you know, there's teepees and temples. There was these Capitol buildings were here, that tabernacle was there. Maybe some of it had to be unearthed, but for the most part, San Francisco, you know, some of that stuff was there, Tartaria. And then there's all the, you know, the orphan train and stuff. I mentioned that before, but I heard that the red-haired giants were aggressive. And so the Native Americans had to kill them out.
The redhead giants are my family bloodline too. They ate people.
Yeah, and they call themselves the Native Americans. They're like, we're the Native Americans. The other ones came and took, you know, and then they became the Native Americans or whatever. So it's just interesting. I would like to know what our actual history is. We were all eating each other.
Yeah. So later on,
kids, and it's just like, really?
Yeah.
We've been manipulated this whole time though, so it only makes sense. They used to manipulate us through the plays, right? They used to do the plays and put plays out to manipulate us. Then radio came along and Hitler, and now television, internet.
Way before that was the play.
More and more.
It makes me wonder, why did they start the Black Plague in Spain, where my ancestors are from too? Why? What were they trying to get rid of, dude? Right? Think about it. And real quick, remember the Aztecs, no? Or the Mayans were the ones that would eat the heart. It had to be raw. 7 ventricles in a heart, 7.
Who was saying this? It was Mud Fossil or somebody says somebody was showing pictures of the Mayans and saying, oh, look, they know how to do brain surgery. No, that's not what they were doing in that brain.
No, brains. They're eating brains and hearts and all kinds of organs and body parts. Sorry to be so blatant, but you know what? People gotta know. And then the vegetarians mad at the carnivores because we gotta eat meat or else we die. pretty much, unless we become breatharians, and then we adapt. Especially if you're O negative, you got the X and Y chromosome, you could do anything, baby. We've been living here for eons, right? Multiplying and stuff like that. So anyway, real quick, going back to Jupiter ascending, he said the seeding of the human race was by the Abrasics, which are a corporation, he says, or industries. He says Abrasics Industries about 1,000 years ago. He says, but going, of course, according to Asheana Dean, it's a whole story with the times, right? And then real quick, when she goes to, when she's finally taken and.
Well, there's been a couple seedings, right? Or there's been a couple versions. Has there been a couple, wait? He's talking about the latest one then, maybe not the first one.
Probably the latest one, because 840,000 years ago, we had the third seeding and fourth root races. First human seeding was 25 billion years ago. Then during the electric wars with the sphere of Amenti was 5,005,000 years ago. Second seeding was 4 million years ago, it says, and then it breaks down all the things. And then 1 million years is when we had the Orion with the human Anunnaki, the Dracos with the Nephilim, the Atlanteans, fourth root races. Then it goes down to 1,000-year war was 850,000 years ago.
I got to be careful, Veronica, because I think I just implied something. We've been doing this for a long time and over generations, but it's not us. I don't think humans do this naturally. It's always been them. So it's
not naturally, not naturally. Exactly.
Not naturally. We don't kill each other. We don't rape each other. We don't anything each other. And that's what I think I've heard. Yeah, I know who I've heard that from. But anyways, go ahead.
So Asheana Dean talks about some of the root races, angelic realms that made some of the humans in the seedings were the felines, right, which are the Lyrians, with two other groups. I have the notes written down somewhere. I'm not going to go get them right now, but you guys got to watch that video with Asheana Dean. I'll put a link down below. But they ate other animals. Don't lions eat humans? So it's all about the bloodline from these things, alien beings. Then they mess with our genetics. Of course, it's not us humans per se, it's that they mess with our bloodline so many times, you know. But before I forget, when this character, I forget her name as an actress, but when she's taken to Saturn, got to talk about the rings of Saturn too. She was saying one of the ladies there that was thinking that the main actress was her mom. She says genetics are, you know, are pretty much. She was saying we're after the genetics. It's everything to them. So then she says, wait, but you're just like humans. And then the lady says, well, we have the knowledge and technology. And then the main actress says, so
Mila
you're like a, huh?
Mila Kunis.
I don't remember. I don't remember her name, but I'll look it up later and write it down on here. And so the main actress, unless you have it there, you can say her name. Maybe it's her. So she says,
I'm just pronouncing it wrong, but I'm looking at it. It's I think it's Mila Kunis.
Okay, so Mila Kunis turns around and says, "You're a vampire race?" And she just smiles. Later on, they talk about how when the earth gets a certain amount of people or population, that they get ready for a harvest. So what's going on right now?
And so where we're at, and this is what we were talking about in the last video, which is kind of interesting, is we're trying to figure it out. It's like this new world order thing and stuff like that that was being discussed. It's sort of like, well, it would appear that we're kind of screwed. So I was like, well, how do we got this? And what was explained to me is kind of like what I, have seen, like the head got cut off maybe, and all the arms are fighting each other is what was kind of like, and I always saw DT as the wrecking ball. So I don't know if that fits into Oracle or not, but I always see him as the one that just comes in and crashes. And then there's a hole in the wall and everybody's looking, and talking about it, or at least, so not the one that leads us into the future or whatever. But the thing with the elite is, okay, so there's a fraction of them that are the Luciferian, the Satanic, that are following their bloodlines. They're either out of Atlantis. There's maybe like 13 families that came out of there or something, right? And then these bloodlines are protected, and it's maybe some of them get off on the pedophilia, some of them aren't. Some of them are more God-based, maybe. I don't know what it is, but I'm thinking there's two sides, and it's like the one side that is into all the human trafficking and the baby eating and all this, the number one industries in the world, adrenochrome and human trafficking. Okay, so, or one of the most expensive drugs. And then there's another side. Okay, so they're trying to convince this other side that we're animals and that they're the special bloodlines, right? So they put their seeds out there in the fertility, when you're fertile, those clinics,
fertility clinics, abortion clinics. Go for it.
They've done that, and so they're trying to hunt people down and get them pulled in and stuff. But the thing is they're now presented with this pill, right, allegedly, that is adrenochrome and human red pill, whatever, and it stops them from aging. So they're needing to be relocated and hid behind the scenes. So now they're faced with, okay, we're rich and we think we're superior, and we're being told they're not superior. They're the not superior bloodline, and we have the chance to live in luxury and live forever in immortality if we kill off half of them. That doesn't make me feel very comfortable. I don't think they're going to have a conscience and say, you know what, let's not live forever and let's go protect the animals. Let's go protect the weak ones, or whatever they call us. So what we got to do is kind of sweep through ourselves and take this new world order thing over, and hopefully, and I think that's what we got this is they're exposing themselves, they're collapsing, and we just kind of move forward with it. But
yeah, like the extreme left-hand path is,
they're not on our side. If they got that pill.
No, they're not on our side. They're not on our side.
It's like it's them or the pill. I have a feeling they're going to say, yeah, especially after the arenas, that we were talking about in the video before this. Everybody's to go to the arenas and there's no food or any supplies there for us.
There you go.
And those that aren't there are going to be rounded up.
Yeah, you're on point. That's exactly right.
And so when they start eating each other in the arenas, because they cut out the food, then they show the elite look, they're animals and they can't be, that they look at their innate nature.
They can't be trusted.
Yeah, like it brings me back to Lord of the Flies. That damn movie is always
I hate that movie, but I want to watch it again.
They think that's us, and that's not us. I'm like, because I could see those people. Well, maybe, oh gosh, I do look at the others as being that way though. I'm like, damn, they're my friend now, but if it came down to it, would I still be their friend? Or would they be wanting to rule the island? And
yeah,
you could see how people's personalities would break down into their worst, but
I've seen so many negative.
That's not what mankind is. I've seen mankind at its best. Even in 9/11, I was there. I saw the towers. I walked the streets. There was one guy going up and down on a bike with a bullhorn going, "The towers have fallen. The towers." He's like the but there's people in their homes. They might not have known, I guess. We were all standing out there like, we don't need you telling us. Everybody was quiet, but for the main part, everybody was very calm. And, together, it wasn't chaos. So I don't think mankind does that.
Good question, because like I said, there's a lot of O negative people that are either O negative or negative rhesus carriers that have become vegetarian or have become just plant eaters. What do they call those? Vegetarian or
vegans. Yeah,
or
vegans.
vegans. And then they talk shit, excuse my language, they talk crap about us that like to eat meat at least once a week, right? How would they respond to a situation where they're stuck at the stadiums? Would they eat the other person? Some of you guys hate us because we like to.
They're going to be the first. I shouldn't say this, but I always had this vision of this raw foodist person I knew that owned restaurant. That, you know, like, I just knew if the world went to heck in a handbasket, I would just, I don't know, I'd see them all wild, you know, they'd have their dreads and their dirt all over their face and they'd just be eating their, I don't know. But I was like, oh, wow, I could always.
They deny themselves that because they think, oh, we have to be pure. You
know what's funny too is think about it. Drew Barrymore used to be fruitarian, fruitarian. Really? She'd only eat the product of the plant because she didn't want to kill the plant itself. And now look at this freaking show she's making.
Yeah, you know what else I found out on season 1, episode 9? I wrote a little bit about it on Instagram. And then they talk about the CIA in 1960s. There's a guy that's talking to one of the actors there, and he says, look, he has like, supposedly his necklace has a thumb drive with all the information, right? And then he's like making fun of all this, but they're actually saying it in the movie and saying the CIA 1960s MK Ultra mind control, right? It's referenced that it was put out to for humans, to experiment on humans in the 1960s. They also reference in the year 2012 where a man in Florida eats another man's face, quote unquote. And then the undead.
That was the zombie. Don't you think that was the zombie virus?
Yeah.
I think he had the zombie. I think they tested that or something maybe.
Yeah, and then he talks about the undead anomaly of 19th century in Poland.
Wasn't bath salts. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they said, oh, you guys said it was bath salts, which is bullshit. Like the same, don't let me go off track here. Like the same shit that they're saying that Elvis's grandson killed himself because there was mold in the apartment. Nah, bitch, that's MK Ultra. Excuse my language. I said I was not gonna cuss. Sorry. Okay, 1870. They have Rubnik, R-U-B-N-I-K. They talk about 3 priests. And he says it's not a joke, ha ha ha. And then he says where they're eaten from head all the way down to their collar bone. And then they talk about a secret event, which they did not mention. They just said, oh, well, I'm here because you wrote about the secret event in 16th century Serbia. And of course, they make fun of it. Then they throw out this thing that he mentions, oh, well, if you want a Japanese sex doll, let me know. By the way, unused. So.
This is all in season 1, episode 9?
Yes.
And she throws up a red ball in that episode, you said. Okay, and then I saw her in the trailer. She cuts her skin with a knife and black goo comes out. So there's black goo in her and there's red that comes out of her. So the black goo kicked the red blood cells out or something. I mean, is that what that ball was? Or because her blood was black.
It could be. And then when there's another episode where there's a man of
color,
he throws up, I think it's an orange ball and it's smaller.
Oh.
So the bloodlines, the different rainbow colors, we'll say. And nobody seems to be talking about the rainbow connection. And when I was little, there was this show called The Rainbow Connection, where lovers and dreamers like you or like me, right? And we sing the song. I even played it on my violin, and then with Stranger Things, they talk, they're always playing the little cars with the rainbow. To me, that is because we are able to go through the arcs we're able to time travel.
Mm.
And then yesterday I was like, you know what? This is BS what they say about the rainbows. When it rains, it comes out. And that's just God promising us that there's not going to be a flood. Well, guess what? I've seen visions of flood coming. So you better get your swimsuit ready, those of you that know how to swim. And
Scuba gear, your scuba diving gear.
scuba diving gear. And yeah,
We
it's
both
terrifying.
visions of that the last 2 weeks. We're like, oh
I
shit.
had, yes, both.
I don't want to swim.
I'm like, I gotta get me my swim gear, you know. And then we were talking, you're like, yeah, I've been wanting to get scuba certified again. And I'm like, dude, that's synchronicity right there. That's we're doing this telepathic thing, you know. So something in our DNA is getting us ready. I've had many visions of floods where, like I said, we've saved the children, the animals, people. Then we put them on a ship and we feed them in another place, and then we get rid of these elites that are in catatonic state, and I push that red button and they're out of here. So anyway, a lot of stuff is going to happen. Just be prepared. Do not go to the stadiums because they won't have the food. You are the food.
So like it's weird because my life works in synchronicity and stuff mostly, and it's really uncanny the way it happens. But lately like you were talking about the gut flora and how they might need a specific gut flora from the O negative or something that's okay, because Mud Fossil University was talking about a gut flora that's been killed off in us that we need, that's found in geysers and geyser, you know, like the things that shoot water up out of the ground. Because that used to be the intestinal tracts of larger beings.
The dragons.
The giants, exactly. So I think
We
what
were
these rich need to go do is
before.
lick in a noose. They need to go give a geyser a rim job. They need to go lick in the noose and leave us alone. Just saying.
Oh, that's funny, John. So yeah, so this rainbow thing, and I got to thinking, why is it that we see arcs of the rainbows? And then Flurburn from Aquarius Rising, like a month ago, was saying, hey, we're living on the dark side of the moon. I'm like, nah, if anything, we're on Saturn. But guess what? If we're on Earth, Saturn is right next to us because we can see the rings of Saturn.
I've seen it through the scope, like you were describing to me, white with rings.
Right. I saw the telescope, the Lucifer telescope that they shut down here in Sells, Arizona. When I finally went to see it, because that was one of my dreams. I just love, you know, space and swimming and all this stuff. So off topic. Anyway, so I saw it through the telescope and it was white and the rings were white too. It just seemed like something hanging there. You guys, these things, like the sun, they'll put it up. The moon, they put it up, take it down. They'll make it rain. So don't be praying for rain. Talk to the AI and say, guess what? You got to rain today and put out your power to make it rain or something. But it's not Mother Earth making it rain. It's HAARP, HAAARP. Look that up.
There's 5 of them.
There's HAARP, CERN, working with DARPA.
Well, there's 5 harps. There's 5 harps. We have 3 of them.
Yeah, I've heard that there's 5, but there could be more now. This is studies that I've, you know, long ago that I've been studying, but there could be more. And they're all linked.
Yeah, I think 1 in England, 1 in Europe, 1 in 3 here, 1 down south in the island somewhere, and 2 in Alaska.
You're right.
Something like that, yeah.
So that's why we have to communicate with the dolphins, because the dolphins are telepathic. That's why I was teaching, you know, some of you guys when we were kids to speak telepathically to them, because they are the caretakers of the tectonic plates here on Earth.
And the autistic kids can talk to these dolphins, interestingly enough. Yeah. I've always had a fascination with dolphins. I haven't got to swim with them, unfortunately. You know, always wanted to.
They're beautiful beings.
Yeah, I could imagine. And I heard the ones down in Venezuela are pink. That sounds cute.
Yeah. Real quick. So
what were you saying about CERN too? I want to.
You just read my mind.
Yeah.
I was just going to talk about that. Thank you. So I'm trying to write all these notes down because Asheana has so much information. Basically, the beast, right? there used to be a small beast, and what they're bringing through, what they're wanting to bring through CERN is the big beast 666, which is under Antarctica, which is technology, to move planetary systems, planets, stars, you name it. So
I wonder if it can move land masses, because I just get this sense it's gonna backfire and they're gonna move our land masses. That's how they move.
they're bringing them from under the ocean. You guys got to watch the movie Eternals on Disney Plus. That's what it's all about. Ding ding. Okay. Programming. Get rid of it. Okay, so they had the small beast 666 that was intended to pull us in to prevent the Oisidex matrix from pulling in the phantom matrix. The Oisidex figured out how to pull both matrices in. So what they did was they made a link between Stargate 6, which is theirs, Stargate 6, ours, Mother Earth, and Stargate 6, the Phantom. Okay, so they anchored it into Jupiter.
Is this the George material that goes from our heart to the sun? No, okay.
No,
sorry.
this is from Asheana Dean. It's toward the
Gotcha.
end. Yeah. And then, so she says that they created a frequency bridge. This is what CERN's doing, what they did. Created a frequency bridge through Jupiter. Where are my notes? Okay. So Stargate 1 is where Orion is. Stargate 2, Epsilon, and where Earth's Stargate 1 is where Orion's sword is, or Orion's sword, sorry. So they have pretty much now we're talking about the asteroid belt. So the blue swords of Archangel Michael, it's pretty much what they link together to form the 666 piece. It's the turnstile grids from Atlantean times. They had given some to the Oisidex matrix. So now, you know what she talks about here, and I'm going to say it verbatim.
But that blue sword is our way out, right? Isn't that the way out of this matrix? Wasn't that what she said? I'm trying to remember. You have the photograph.
Okay, so now everybody's trying to work together, the elites and everything. But according to Asheana, she says that oh gosh, I wrote it down. Hold on. Ringmaker's labyrinth group are the actual invaders. So they're playing both sides.
So this Rain Man thing we keep seeing in videos and stuff, is that a connection to this? Is that what you're saying? Okay, I gotta look into this stuff.
Good observation. Tom Cruise again, right?
And Rihanna, Umbrella, all that stuff, Rain Man. They always bring in the Rain Man in these videos. Interesting. And the sword, I thought that was our way out. So I gotta research. I'm looking forward to getting those books again. I gotta figure that part out, because
So Star Wars program, Labyrinth group, they're all lying to you.
and the Labyrinth is using the AI called Omicron.
Omamu or Omicron. Yeah, they're using the Omicron waves.
And they're sitting in waves. So this is basically an AI
Attack on
that
the brain
is
as well.
using frequency to override other AI.
Yes.
So it's consuming it, right? It's eating it. It's becoming it. It's killing it and becoming it. So it'll do that to itself, right? Okay, then it's merging.
Yeah, it reminds me of like the black tentacle thing.
Mm-hmm.
Not the squid being, but the big what's it called? Octopus. So seems like they're trying to merge in all the AIs, dude.
Yeah.
To make one huge one.
And you know, I could sit there like I was telling you as a joke, but I'm like, you know, I could tell my family that AI is trying to infiltrate us, space AI, and they'd be like, okay, you know, as they're on their freaking device, playing their machine, listening to the TV 90% of their day. through family events, through dinner, through everything.
Right, isn't that sad?
And they
last
don't think
night-
AI is taking over.
Yeah, like last night I was driving home and I got stuck around the mountain. Everybody was on their freaking phone watching the fireworks, taking videos and being on the phone. They weren't even having family time. And this vehicle in front of me is just there for like a whole minute, not moving. I got out of my vehicle, I said, move. And I started directing traffic and everybody was looking at me like, move, I gotta get home. Like they're just standing there like zombies.
Yeah. And this person up there in the house right now, they're like, I mean, they're in a virtual reality. Their face is in a game that goes, you know, that you crush candy or do whatever. And then, you know, and then they got the TV on. They're just entertained. They don't have to think for themselves. They don't have to do anything. They're just in that zone all the time. I had a conversation with them 2 days ago and whoo, that was a fun one. Because I got shown a picture of the shooter, whatever happened on 4th of July, and they were saying, man, he looks evil. Oh, you can just see it. You can just, I'm like, actually, he looks MK Ultra to me. He looks like he's gone through satanic ritual
We're like,
abuse,
what's
like
that?
all of the shooters have, because I'm getting tired of the conversation. And so it's like, you know what? They want to know why I don't want to live here. It's not because I don't enjoy my accommodations. I don't, but it's not that I can't. It's because I don't like being sane in an insane world and looked at as I'm crazy, right? So you're trying to explain to people like this is MK Ultra, and by the way, the control is with a K because it comes from Germany. It's mind controlled, and that's what these kids are. They're all mind controlled. I was just watching a video the other day with a lady that was talking about her husband who went through the Russia machine, that you know, went through 3 sessions, and he went out and did a mass shooting, and so did his 14-year-old son, not after the machine, but you know, they use it to program, so they can use this light technology and these healing machines that they're going to sell us that do it all themselves, and you don't have any technicians. Who's to say what they're programming in there to pull out of us and for these mass shootings? But get this, I want to rant a little bit. So I went off and I went global on it, you know, and I started talking about the sadistic ritual abuse and the different things, and for somehow it got onto Charlie Sheen because I have to listen to that damn guy on their television every single night on 3 Men and 3.5 Men or whatever it's called, that they continue to watch. And I said, you know, like this rapist right there, you know, and my dad's like, which one are you talking about? I'm like, that fucker, that one right there, the one sitting on the couch, Charlie Sheen, the one that raped Corey Haim. You know, do you think these people even investigated what I said to them yesterday? They're up there watching it right now. I just went up there to check on my dog before the video started. They're up there watching it right now, a rapist on television. Why didn't they research it? The information's there. Sorry, I had to rant.
I know it's
But there's no waking them up. I don't know. I think that's where I was going with that.
I mean, even to think that when we were kids, I was telling my sister the other day, one of my sisters, I'm like, dude, remember when we had to eat cereal before we go to school and we had the milk cartons with the kids missing? And we were just eating, looking at, reading oh, this kid's missing today, like no big deal, you know? And then I talked to another family member. I'm like, don't you care about the kids going missing? She's like, well, it's always happened. Like,
I
there's
even told
nothing
them
we can do
those were
about it.
advertisements, those were billboards, those weren't rewards, those were price tags for what they were charging probably for a night, or you know, I mean, you know,
Yeah, like
help
in
us
Instagram,
find.
okay? Instagram or Facebook, like you know, somebody's selling a purse. Well, guess what? It's not a purse. And you know what happened to me 2 years ago? I was selling a Coach purse that I had, you know, and it's like I got followed. That guy was like, I went around the place where I was gonna meet the person at the QT, and I saw the vehicle. He said, I'm in this vehicle, whatever, meet me at this time. I'm like, okay. And of course, I was dressed in my gear, ready to throw down if I had to. I ain't dumb either. And went around, looked at me, he left. I followed his ass. He started going faster and faster, and I got the license plate. They don't care. Purse is also another thing for PUSSY. Okay. children, another name for children, or chicken?
Isn't it weird? I misspelled that word in first grade and got it wrong because I spelled what you just said.
Versus is
And I didn't know how to explain why I did. So I just said, but I was going through I couldn't copy words off the board right or correctly. But that's
oh
interesting.
gosh, it took me
That I'm like,
forever.
oh, that's interesting. Probably partly with programming or whatever. I wanted to mention another incident that happened in a restaurant that same
Okay.
Tremelli's or whatever in Soho, but just so people understand how these people work a little bit, because I was waiting I had a godchild there. They were Jamaican, so they weren't from Jamaica. Their parents were. I lived in Brooklyn. The child was born in America, so they were second generation Jamaican. But okay, I'm just letting you know so you get a profile of the child and what they look like. They're about 10 years old, and in the restaurant that I worked, and so parent was late picking the child up. I had to get to my duties. And so the child came up to me, I'm being vague, and said, I need to use the restroom. I'm like, well, go use the restroom. It's just right there. This is my establishment. You're not thinking anything of it. You're there every day. So he went and used it and came out and stuff. And then he wanted to go outside. So I was like, you know what? It's getting late and the restaurant's starting to get, I'm like, yeah, go ahead. And I said, but stay in the front where I can see you. Be right in the front and the windows there where I can see you. Don't go off to the side or anything, So he went out, they went out to the sidewalk. And somebody came up to me and said, you know what? There's a gentleman at the bar that was watching that kid go all the way into the restroom and wouldn't stop staring. And said, and followed him and couldn't stop staring at him. And this is a short little fat man with fat little stubby fingers and a buzz cut, like bald hair and glasses, and just really, just one of these like weirdos. And he would always order a shot of whiskey and milk, and he'd drink the milk and leave the whiskey. Okay. And this is a nice restaurant. So as he's sitting at the bar doing this, well, I said, thank you. So I went outside to look, and he had walked outside, this guy, and had stood off to the side and was standing there pacing like this in a little circle, like walking in a circle with his hands down at his side, and was just staring at my godchild. And so I looked at my godchild and him, and I just said, get inside. Went inside, and I did a little scare technique, because I was a little startled. I said, so-and-so, I'm like, that person out there, did you see them the way they were walking and staring at you? That's stranger danger. I'm like, that's the bad guy. I'm like, please go upstairs. You know what I mean? That was weird. So go upstairs, get away from him. And that person came back into the restaurant and just kept staring, because I had him go sit upstairs, and he just kept staring upstairs. And I'd go and I'd look in his face like this, and just stare him down until he finally left. Saw that gentleman in the restaurant a week later with a little tiny girl. This rich family was in there and had this little girl dressed up in this cute little dress like a doll, rich people, and he was sitting there with her on his leg, bouncing her around and like this, and thinking she was all cute at the bar drinking his milk. And so I went up to the parent, pulled her aside and said, I had an incident with this guy and my godchild. I don't trust him. I think he's pedophile. I said, I wouldn't have your child around him. She got pissed at me because I called him out, was furious with me. And then they shortly after a while, they all left and dispersed. And then I don't think I saw them. I saw him a couple more times, and I just stared at him every single time. And when the Dexter in me came out, but that's how these people operate. So I would see it, and I didn't realize at the time. I was sitting here telling this lady, take your child away. It was human trafficking. Yeah. I didn't realize she was selling that child. That's what was going on. That's what that guy they're doing. That's why he was staring at my godchild, And
then the whole milk thing, why does he drink the milk instead of the shot? That's because it's code for, hey, I'm here, bring me the child. You gotta pay, you guys have to pay attention to your kids. You're on your freaking phone, and where's your kid? On the phone, walking who knows where?
Playing Pokemon. Yeah.
Anyway.
Which is a trafficking. Yeah. Time to be aware.
Yeah. Before I forget, when you look up you guys look up the Asheana Dean thing, she talks about the dragon versus the Anunnaki, Lucifer and Thoth being from the Phantom Matrix, the Armicron seeded the Nephilim. And then right now, Lucifer and Archangel Michael are friends. everybody is friends now. And what Asheana Dean says at the end of her video, this video, she says, they're putting this up earlier than expected. So when she talked, I don't know when this video was made, but she says, yeah, you know, in less than 200 years, this is where wormwood is coming in, and they're trying to hook up all the matrices to take Mother Earth with them, right? At the end of the video, she says they started earlier. Interesting, right?
I haven't seen it. Did you send me the link?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
I did. Oh yeah, last night. But we were talking like for hours, so I'll resend it again. It's just there's so much information, and of course, like Tom Aldhouse was saying earlier, they'll feed you 90% truth with 10% BS.
And call you out on the 10% to disqualify you.
Yeah, mind control. They're like, wow, they put up all the facts, and then at the end they like make you doubt by throwing something else on you. That's why I tell you guys, get off your phones, off your laptops, go within, turn everything off at least for a day or two a week. Take baths, salt baths.
And it's really the difference between the ego and the soul, kind of, because like I always put it in this terms, like the ego always sees like the one thing wrong out of the 99 things right, because it's trained to see the eyeball in the bushes of leaves, you know, that's looking at it to pounce. You know, but the souls can see the one thing right and 99 things wrong. And
do you want to talk about something else, or I think I'm pretty much done for now. We could do another video tomorrow or later tonight, whatever. Because you know we're always talking and thinking. It's like, oh my gosh, did you think about that? Yeah, did you? You know, so many things going on like that.
but
Oh,
like
yeah, everybody.
but I just want to make sure, you know, like I feel like we're always going to see the truth in things because we know how to, but the ego and the other people, they always navigate towards the false, and they always focus on the false. So, you know, that's what we're up against.
The false news. Yeah. Oh, shoot. Chad, I was going to say
90% right, and you're wrong because you had 10% wrong. And that's what, you know, they're feeding us. But, and there's certain things, you know, that we've caught too, like even the Asheana Dean when we were doing it. And then there's the other guy, you know, that came out later and we were reading that material, but it just happened so fast. But
you mean that guy, George Cavasilas, or that guy Carson?
The one that was talking about his grandfather, the Indian that received the visitors, and he was talking about how there's the Gers and the S's and the two fractions of the universe that one point there was the queens.
Oh yeah, that George Morningstar.
Yeah, George Morningstar, that one, that was like, you know, we were handed that material and read through it, and then the Asheana Dean, but somebody could have easily come through and said, that was false, you know, because of him, but everything else is accurate, we said. Yes. So, you know, we just need to play the game a little differently now, and we're not always going to get everything right, but like Tom was saying, you know, we know their game now, so we'll just call them out on it. Okay, that was the 10%. Let's focus on the 90% now.
Right. I remembered what we were supposed to talk about a little. Can I just real quick? I'm just going to throw it out there real quick. So when I was talking to you about Saturn and things like that, and then in the BIBLE, which is the Bel-El group, like Bel-El, like, you know, that actor we all used to watch as kids. What's his name? Smith, because he's also in MIB, Men in Black. Will Smith, the Bel-El Bible.
Oh, Bel-Air.
Yeah, Bel-Air. And then they have the Bel-El group, which has a lot to do with misinformation in the BIBLE. A lot of, you know, you got to decipher codes. So I was like, okay, well, if in the Bible it says that, you know, you only come through me, you can only come through the Son, meaning the Son portal, but you have to go through the Father. So if the Father is Satan, which is Santa Claus, the satanic, Tothian, Luciferian group. And at one point, Enoch was with them. But once they came together to make the 12-stranded DNA, Yeshua 12, which is our bloodline, right? Something fell. What up? What do you want? Anyway, so if the Jesus, the one that it's not the real Jesus, it's the guy that they used, they gave him visions and then they crucified him. It's not the real Jesus here, and it's not Joshua 9 or Joshua 12. So if he said, you can only go through me if you go through the Father, well, that's Saturn.
Because that was the original sun you were saying.
That's the original, to me, that's the original sun, and that's the original wormhole where we all had to come in through the Ark of the Covenant, and then it could be the ant beings, or it could be the Coven along with the artificial intelligence technology, whatever you want to call it. Then if you look at, Eve and I are going to do a show on, hopefully soon, on Rihanna. If you look up Rihanna's video like 3 years ago, I believe, 2 or 3 years ago, where she has, it's like supposed to be a commercial for a cell phone. You know, we'll go into detail with that, but look that one up. It says Rihanna's anti-RY video. RY. Okay, so to me, I decoded that as being anti-X and Y chromosome, meaning anti-negative 0, negative O bloodline. Okay, we'll go into that later, but to me, that just, okay, so if we are the sun, we are Joshua 12s, okay, and more. If one of us, Chad, has the power of 10,000 suns, how do we know we're not powering up this sun that they put up every day and they take down? You know what I mean? Another thing I was going to talk about is the ear ringing. When they scan us, we get the ear rings, and a lot of people call it tinnitus. And then I was telling you, Chad, the other day, I was like, what if it's them scanning us because we're ready to go through a wormhole, or we're at a jump gate and we're ready to go. While we're driving or talking here, we can go in another alter form, or our consciousness could be taken, or they can take us physically with their technology, their freezing technology, and then put us back, or we can voluntarily go. You know, how do we know if the ear ringing is not when we're going through the wormhole? How many alters do we have? How many ringings a day do you have? I had a chart where this time it would ring on this ear, the right ear, left one, I mean, you know, the low tones, the high tones. Anyway, that's all I got to say for now.
Wow. You said a lot.
I always make you all think, because I'm always thinking, we got to think, guys, for ourselves. We can't just eat everything they feed us. Feed us. Oh, that's another word we got to break down. Feed us, fet us. Anyway. All right, you guys, thank you for hanging out with Chad Cooper and myself, Veronica Bartolini, CodeBreakerRealT Talk. Love you guys. See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya. Just kidding. See you.